Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Gathering Movement interview series. Thank you for being here, Earl. It was so fun to just talk to you behind the backstage for a little bit, for a few minutes.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. As I was sharing with you before, really this mission is one of empowerment, one of hope, one of inspiration. And I'd love for you to share a little bit about your kind of origin story to how you became the person that you are today.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I've been doing a lot of these podcasts since COVID started, and I really enjoy doing them. And well, my name is Earl Granville. I'm born and raised in Scranton, just outside of Scranton, Pennsylvania. So if you guys watch The Office, that's where I'm from, and I love that show, by the way. Um, what I do now, I tell you what, I'm a student at the University of Scranton for Counseling and Human Services. I'm a team member for organizations such as Operation Enduring Warrior, the Oscar Mike Foundation, and Warrior Strong. And all these organizations, in their own special way, they help veterans and some law enforcement stay active after their injuries and they were hurt in the line of duty. And I play sled hockey for an all-wounded veteran team called the USA Warriors. Our home base is in Washington, D.C. And I suck at hockey, guys. I'm like the worst sled hockey player. I just get out there and have fun, man. But let me back up a little bit. I'll tell you what kind of got me here today and how I live this life now. My senior year of high school, I graduated from Carbondale Area High School, just like I said, outside of Scranton. And my twin brother, Joe, was talking about joining the military. And Joe thought about, what I thought of joining. And I was like, that's not for me, man. That's not my cup of tea. I don't see myself being a soldier or Marine or anything like that. I mean, growing up going to punk shows and playing guitar just a little bit. And like that kind of seemed my realm. Like, oh, F the government. I'm not, doing that. Well, the incentive got me, make me join the military, literally, flat out. People could take it any way they want, was a free education. Now, I don't have any scholarships lined up. I know I wanted to further my other education after high school, but I kind of thought, I'm not going to pay for this. How am I going to pay for it? It looked like the military was able to. So I was like, oh, okay. I'll do my minimal contract. Basically, my mindset is, what can the military do for me? And maybe it was just a 17-year-old attitude I had at the time. Joe and I graduated high school, had a nice summer. We landed in Fort Benning, Georgia for boot camp. September 1st, 2001. You guys all know what happened 11 days later. So here we are in Fort Benning, Georgia, becoming infantryman, and the towers got hit. And I realized this wasn't about the college money after that.
Yeah.
But I still had that punk attitude. I feel like I looked at Joe. I was like, dude, I didn't sign up for this. Like, this is not what I wanted to do, go to war or anything like that. And I remember Joe just being hardcore. That first day, and when we finally actually went down range to, deal with drill sergeant and stuff like that, we're getting smoked and he's on the other side of the room. And I just looked at my brother and I was like, dude, I don't want to do this anymore. What'd you get me into, kind of?
Sign up for this.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like I said, I think it was just my attitude at the time. Well, we graduated basic training, became infantrymen, and after 3 weeks of being home because we're National Guard, I was looking at, going to college, but we got orders for Bosnia. And you guys unfamiliar with the Bosnian conflict, in the early 90s, there was I don't want to say a civil war, but there's somewhat of a genocide going on. I won't go too deep into it, but if you want to learn more about the Bosnian conflict from 92 to 95, read the book Love Thy Neighbor by Peter Maas to really understand what these people were going through. And it's interesting because, I mean, I was alive during that. Like I said, I was a kid. I was just about to be a teenager, and I had no idea any of that was going on in Eastern Europe at the time. So just kind of, here we are. I'm an adult now going over there. And the time we were stepping foot over there, my unit, I mean, the fighting was pretty much done. NATO forces were over there just to make sure the fighting stopped or didn't pick back up. So there's no real threat to us. Very easy deployment. It was, my first time leaving the country. Beautiful land over there in Bosnia. Um, it was pretty neat, and got something out of it. As a 19-year-old kid, came home from that, and decided to, enroll into Lackawanna College and getting that education. The whole reason I joined the military in the first place. And I got 2 semesters in, and we got a warning order for Iraq. But Iraq was a volunteer deployment for anybody who was in Bosnia. It's just the way how the National Guard worked. Like, you had to be home so many times before they could tell you to go again. But you could volunteer for it. So Joe raised his hand, and I was like, man, you really want to go, man? Like, so I sat on it for a little bit, and I'm like, maybe I should just go too if he's going. And I got to tell you, that was, Bridget, the best decision I ever made. Going to Bosnia was one thing, but when I went to Iraq, I became an NCO. So, I became a sergeant, and I saw the big picture, put into some dangerous situations over there. And I realized this isn't about me wearing this uniform. It's about us. Whether the political reason we should be in Iraq or not, that didn't matter. At that time, what mattered was the people from the left and right of me and myself trying to get home, just having a mission to do. And that's what was important at that time. So I saw the big picture of being a part of something bigger than myself. So I loved it so much. I loved being a soldier. That deployment just changed my whole mindset of being in the military. I re-upped my contract while I was over there, and so did Joe. And when we came home from Iraq in June of 06, I enrolled right back into school. And I got 2 more semesters at Lackawanna College, got my associate's degree. And I was looking at furthering my education some more when we got a warning order for Afghanistan. Same ballpark, volunteer mission. I raised my hand right away. Like, oh, yeah, man. I mean, this seems like a good time. Like, I just graduated, so let's move forward. Joe, on the other hand, stayed back. Joe was he was now married, and him and his wife were trying to start a family. But he's like, well, I just can't volunteer for stuff anymore, man. So I think you should stay back with me, and we'll deploy again to Iraq in a year with a different brigade, which was on our schedule in the 109th Infantry, the unit we were in. This deployment I was going with a whole different battalion, the 103rd Armored. But I told him, like, dude, sorry, cut this cord. Off I went. Even though he didn't want me to go. Well, on this deployment, it was 2008, beginning of 2008 when we got there, and we were part of what's called reconstruction teams in Afghanistan. So each province in Afghanistan had a reconstruction team to help rebuild parts of Afghanistan that maybe the Taliban was building, or they just are completely behind. It's not westernized like we are over here. So we're like renovating hospitals, building wells for villages so they didn't have to travel far just to get clean drinking water, recreational centers for kids. It was pretty neat, like more of a humanitarian side of things. Our job in the PRT was my platoon's job. We were the security force. Combat arms personnel were mainly the security force for the core PRT, which is like your civil affairs, U.S. civilian engineers. When they would have meetings with village elders or local government, we would pull security for them and we'd escort them to point A to point B. So that was our job, just being their escort and their security. Well, like I said, our civil affairs officers, when we would escort them, every single one of them, they would sit in the back seat of our vehicles, Humvees or MRAPs, whatever we had. And every civil affairs officer did that except for one. And this gentleman, whose name was Major Scott Haggerty. He liked to be in charge of the vehicle he was in, which basically puts him in the shotgun seat. So on this 4-day mission we had in this little village called Zormont, we were going to build this future school. I saw on the roster Major Haggerty was going to be in my vehicle. So no harm, no foul, dude. You want to be in charge of the vehicle today? That's cool. I will be your gunner. and I'm going to put my gunner, Craig Rains, as a passenger in a different vehicle. Like, no big deal at all. I never made a big deal out of it. Like, that's fine, man. I'll get behind that gunner's hatch. That's a fun job anyway. So, um, the fourth day being out on this mission, which was our final day, we looked at the site of the school and what we had left. We had to go back to the fob we were staying at for these past 4 days, pack up our stuff, fuel up, and head back to our home in Gardez. Well, I won't get too deep into it, but there was a different route we had to take through get back to Gardez. Because the route we were taking seemed a little dangerous. We had intel that maybe there was something going to happen. So we pulled out our maps and found a different route that none of us were familiar with, but it looked a lot more open and I'd imagine a lot more safer. So we decided to do that. Now on this route, like I said before, none of us were on it before, but for the first time ever in Afghanistan, off the roads was bright green grass. And I know that sounds weird, but like, I've been in this country for 3 months now and seeing this beautiful vegetation over there. Like we've been in a lot of parts in the country and this is the first time we're seeing anything like this. I'm like, who the heck is watering the grass in Afghanistan? It's beautiful here, right? We have a little laugh. The next thing I remember, Bridget, I saw nothing but black. And what I was hearing, when you put your head underwater, and it's like a faint noise.
Yeah.
Like that's the best way I could describe what I was hearing. It sounded like my head was underwater. And I felt a momentum. And in my mind, I'm saying to myself, what the heck is going on right now?
Mm-hmm.
The next thing I come to, and I open my eyes, big, beautiful sky. It's like 2:30 in the afternoon over there. Why am I looking at the sky? Holy jeez. My feet are almost 90-degree backwards and I'm full of blood. Vehicle's completely destroyed. We just hit an IED.
Shit.
All I wanted to do was assess the situation. Like, are we getting ambushed? Is anybody else hurt? I can't even defend myself. I don't have a working weapon on me. I can't even get up and move at this point. I'm completely useless at this point and just really bleeding out. I'm thinking to myself, this is it. I'm going to die. The medic got to me, Doc Eric Jones, Air Force medic. I said to Doc, I was like, hey, how's everybody else doing? And he said, we're working on them. They're fine. They're good. So Doc starts working on my right leg immediately to stop the bleeding. Pressure dressing, I'm still bleeding. Puts a tourniquet on me, slows the bleeding down. Him and a few other guys put me on a litter, and they carry me behind an MRAP for cover, waiting for the medevac chopper to come down. When they carried me over there, they walked me right past 2 body bags. That was Specialist Derek Holland, who was driving the vehicle that day, and Major Scott Haggerty of Stillwater, Oklahoma, took my seat. Derek was 20 years old, just turned 20, so he's a kid still. So I think to myself, like, what do I have to complain about? I didn't think about that right then and there, but looking back, Major Haggerty initially kind of saved my life that day. Right? I sit in that seat every other day except for that day. So what do I have to complain about? Medevac chopper came. They put me on the litter, or they put me on the Blackhawk. Meanwhile, there was another survivor in the vehicle, and this was an Afghan governor who was in the back seat of our vehicle who we were escorting. And this Afghan governor had his own security details in other vehicles as well. So not only did this governor get on the vehicle as well, but one of his escorts, he wasn't wounded or anything, but just to have one of his own with him, like language barriers, stuff like that. And I'm laying in the litter. To the right of me is this governor, and I got to say, I'm 24 years old when this is going on now, right? I know the governor is much, my guess is probably his early 50s. Like he was definitely, up there in age. And he's verbally, expressing his pain, right? and he's laying to the right of me, right next to me. And I don't give a crap what your faith is, what your beliefs are. All I know in this moment, I'm just gonna grab this. I took my right hand and I grabbed his left and I just squeezed it. And I just thought maybe the both of us can get out of here, you know.
Yep.
Well, they gave me a shot of morphine before they put me on the Blackhawk. When it started to wear off, all I wanted to do was kind of look at my legs, right? So every time I would try to sit up and get a good look to see exactly what's going on there, right? Like I'm kind of like wearing down a little bit. I'm just waiting for this chopper to take me there. So all these things are going through my head. And as I would try to sit up and look at my legs, I would get one of these, right? Yeah. A little while later, a few moments later, I'd look up again, try to see my legs, and I would get one of these once again. And finally, after probably a third time of that, I look back to who's pushing my head back like that. And I look back, and it's that Afghan police officer who was with us. And I
Mhm.
look up at him in the face, and he just shakes his head, and he just kind of gives me one of these, like, kind of like, relax, dude.
Mm.
Kind of one of those, like, just take it easy. And in a in an environment where sometimes it never happened to us, but we've heard from other units where the police, Afghan police officers or military we'd work with, one would just go rogue and start shooting us. So we were always told not to trust these guys. Well, obviously, this guy showing me compassion, I thought was just, it's what I needed at the moment, especially from kind of open my eyes a little bit. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah. So we got to Bagram Air Base, and one of the main U.S. hospitals in Afghanistan. Doctor said to me after they brought me in the hospital, did some X-rays. We're gonna have to do surgery on your right hip immediately. And I was like, Doc, you do what you got to do, right? So right before they brought me in for surgery, once again, that Afghan police officer walked into my room. He starts talking to me, but and he does this. And as he's talking to me, I don't understand a word he's saying.
Mhm.
We all know body language, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that kind of like, it really opened my mind a lot. Like, man, here's a dude who's just born in this part of the world and
Yep.
being an awesome human being right now to me, who he's probably getting from his side, like these Americans are effing idiots. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, so, I don't know if he's still alive or anything, but man, if I could have a beer with that guy, like, I don't even know who he is. I can't even remember what he looks like, but I just like that day with him, man, I'll never forget that. So it's why I do this all the time.
Yeah.
I went under for surgery. Uh, the next thing I remember, there's a nurse pulling a breathing tube out of my mouth and having me calm down. And when she finally gets the breathing tube out, now my voice is all scratchy at this point, and um, I can tell I'm in a much nicer hospital than the one in Afghanistan. And she says, "Hey, just so you know, you're at Landstuhl Air Base in Ramstein, Germany. So I'm in a whole different continent at this point. So all that in between time of travel, I don't remember any of it."
Wow.
And uh, later on that day, a doctor came in and says, "We think your right leg we're going to salvage. We're going to keep your right leg. It's pretty beat up, a lot of hardware in there. I still had some more surgeries to go, but your left leg we're going to have to remove at the knee."
Mhm.
And Britta, I got to say, I at that time I could say with confidence I was very optimistic. I'm like, Doc, you do what you got to do. All right. I mean, I'm just happy to be here. As we move forward, a few more surgeries, and I finally got the green light to go back to the States.
Mm.
My home was going to be Walter Reed Army Medical Center, one of the main U.S. military hospitals in Washington, D.C. And I was in ICU. They put me in ICU as soon as I got there. More surgeries, more x-rays. But that third day of being there, my family finally got the green light to come down. All right. So one by one, they would come into ICU. My mom, my dad, one of my siblings. But eventually, there was Joe. And I could say, just like before, I felt pretty good. I mean, I'm optimistic about this. Like I said, if things went the way they went every other day, I would have been killed. So what do I have to complain about? And I remember just seeing my brother and the reunion I'm having with everybody. And at one point, Joe says to me, "I should have just gone with you." Hold on, like, time out a second, man. Get that out of your head right now. But knowing my brother and how he was, I could definitely see him acting like that. And I'm like, dude, you can't be thinking like that, man. Like, that's just the wrong attitude to have. And even the humor I would try to give with him, like, hey, man, look, I'm here, I'm alive, my junk didn't get blown off. I'm doing pretty good, right? Like, trying to be funny about it. And I got to tell you, Bridget, my time at Walter Reed, I got out of ICU. I went to something less intense in the hospital. And then Ward 57, a few more surgeries there, but, definitely not all these wires coming out of me. And eventually I was an outpatient right on base. I lived right on base in a hotel room, and I would just wheel to physical therapy every day until I was able to walk. And you think of it as like a somber place. This is now 2008. The surge in Iraq happened a year prior. Every summer when the snow melts, Taliban come and play in Afghanistan. So at this time I was there was people everywhere, right?
Mm.
Like in my situation, like
Mm.
missing limbs or burn casualties or whatever it may be. Um, so you think of it as like like I said, a somber place. Like careers are coming to an end. Uh, lives are altered. Some spouses are leaving their injured loved ones. But I got to tell you what, it was the attitude of people, it was like the complete opposite. And I was just like so taken back by this warrior spirit these guys and girls are having. And I personally think it probably helped me in my recovery. Not at the time, but looking back, I'm like, I couldn't imagine having these people around me at the VA. And nothing, I'm not here to bash the VA or anything, but that demographic of people is a lot different than men and women in their 20s, 30s, still busting each other's chops, giving each other crap, which is the better branch. Like, that's still going on here right at Walter Reed. And it seemed like nobody felt sorry for themselves. And that was a huge push in my recovery. Looking back, I truly do believe that.
Mm.
And I got my independence back. I started walking, learned how to snowboard once again with a special leg. I went out to Vail, Colorado, learned how to snowboard,
Wow.
introduced to sled hockey. Like, life was good, moving forward, right? It's life's gonna be different. My career came to an abrupt end, but I'm gonna make the best of this. Moved back to Pennsylvania after I got out of the Army. I started dating a girl, and she is a nurse at one of the local hospitals here in Scranton. And every year around Christmas time, they have a black tie event for the lower staff. The higher staff has a black tie event for the lower staff in the department she works in. Kind of like hey, thanks for the awesome year, guys. We're gonna get up next year. Kind of one of those things.
Mhm.
It's a week before Christmas in 2010. I'm getting ready for this event. I get out of the shower. I put my prosthetic on. I end up putting my suit pants on and just a t-shirt because I'm going to do my hair before I get fully dressed. So I'm in the bathroom. I'm doing my hair with the hair gel in there, and all of a sudden my phone rings, and I just let it go to voicemail. So I finish doing my hair. I wash the hair gel out of my hands. I look at my phone, and I see it's my mom. So I listen to the voicemail, and she says, "You need to call me immediately." And she's distraught on the other end. So I'm like, oh, geez. So I give her a call back, and she picks up the phone. She says my name so ever somber. I'm like, Mom, what's the matter? Joe committed suicide. Worst day of my life, man.
Mm.
How could I get this second chance at life and have my own twin brother take his away? Like, I was crushed.
Mhm.
The next, I got to tell you, when those words came out of her mouth, just exactly how I said it, I hit the ground and I just screamed. And, and the girl I was dating at the time, she heard it too. She started bawling. I can't remember what else was said on that phone call, but I know we ended with "I love you" and "I love you too." And I stood up And I walked probably 6 to 8 steps into the kitchen, and every single ounce of alcohol I had, I poured it right down the drain. I grew up with an alcoholic, and I knew right then and there, if I grabbed something, I could, Bridget, my life was, you know. Very next thing I did, I went right into my laptop and I deleted my Facebook, and I just didn't want to deal with the storm that was going to happen after
Mhm.
that. But it didn't take long till an hour later, my phone was just going off the hook, left and right, left and right. Um, some people showed up at my house, and uh, man, it was just so surreal. The next day, I had to go to Joe's house, and there's his wife, there's his 3 kids. Joe, at this point, was active duty in the National Guard. He was a training NCO for the 109th Infantry. Before he was a training NCO, he was a corrections officer at a state prison here in northeastern Pennsylvania, SCI Waymart. So at his house, some of his CO buddies are there. Some of our Army buddies are there. Some of my family is there. Some of my friends from high school. The house is just packed with people, and you can imagine the energy going on. Like,
Yep.
you know, well, I just like, all right, what do we do now? What goes on now? What's our next step? Okay, so today is Sunday, December 19th. The next day, somebody's going to be at the Armory where Joe works. Oh, it'll be open? Okay, great. All right. I looked at my buddy Dave and my cousin Paul, and I said, guys, come to the Armory with me. We'll go talk to Sergeant Peterson and start the logistics of this. Next day, they drove me up to the Armory. There was Sergeant Peterson, our readiness NCO of the unit. And he came over, gave me a big hug, get his condolences. And on the other side of the room, there was a desk. There was Joe's desk. Grabbed a box. I started putting stuff in the box. All right, Sergeant Peterson. So what happens now? Paperwork have to be signed. Like the military is going to pay for Joe's funeral. Okay, perfect, excellent. All right, let's start that right now. I need you go talk to supply. It's going to be an open casket. I want Joe in his dress blues. I want to make sure his uniform's up to date with all his awards. Knock that out for me. Hey, why don't you go to St. Rosalima Church? My brother was Catholic, so we're going to talk to the church about having the funeral services there. And I need you to go to Priest Funeral Home in Carbondale. Go with Stephanie, go pick out a casket. And all I started doing, Reggie, I just started delegating
Yep.
all these little tasks. Just keep myself going. It's like, here I am, like these jobs need to get done. So let's knock them all out. Not even processing what the hell I'm preparing myself for. Does that make sense?
Yep. I hear you fully.
And the day it came, I shaved my beard, just squeezing my dress blues that are hanging on the wall there. Went up to Joe's casket, give him the final salute. That's that. Now what? You ever hear idle hands is the devil, Bridget?
Mm-mm.
Idle hands is the devil, like when you don't have anything to do, you find yourself trouble.
Yes.
Exactly what I did. And my mentality went right back somewhat to when I first joined the Army, making it all about me, feeling sorry for myself, playing the victim, thinking the world owes me everything.
Yep.
Let me ask you, where does playing a victim get you?
Literally nowhere.
Exactly.
Yep.
I just started to self-destruct.
Yep. Yep.
Dysfunctional veteran, one of those T-shirts I wore, and like, you know what I did for my country. In reality, nobody owes me shit.
Mm-hmm.
Part of my language.
You're good.
Because it's the truth. Nobody owes us anything. No matter what happens in our lives, nobody owes us anything.
Yep.
And I just started to go downhill. So, moving forward, I became very close with Joe's widow, Steph. I mean, she was always a good friend of mine, Stephanie. She's my sister-in-law, but we just had that ball busting like brother and sister would, and so obviously her and I became very closer after that, just more of a friendship. Because she was struggling too. She would apologize to me, and I said, Steph, Joe's my brother. I knew him my whole life, but you have 3 kids with him. I can't even imagine that, and those kids are without a father right now. So you
Mhm.
could tell the bond her and I had. And she told me at one point, Joe was so proud of you, like things you've accomplished after I lost my leg. And Joe and I didn't have that relationship. I don't think siblings do where they compliment each other. You know what I mean? Like, so I would never hear stuff like that from Joe. Like when I went out to Vail, Colorado snowboarding, um, I made the front page of the Vail Daily paper out there. And it's just, me on a bunny slope snowboarding, and you can see my prosthetic on my pants, right? So, those machines where you put a quarter in, you open it, and you take the paper.
Mhm.
Well, I put a quarter in, I opened it, and I took every damn paper because it's probably on that damn cover, and I'm taking these home. And I took them home. I gave them to my friends and stuff. Oh, look at that! I made the front page. So Joe would show his buddies all that. Look at Earl, and I never knew this stuff, and
Mhm.
like the pride he was taking in my accomplishments. So I kind of like, God damn, if he was proud of me then, he'd be proud of me now. Like, I can't act like this anymore. So I didn't happen overnight, but I turned myself around and I just started challenging myself more and more physically. Like, I just I started off small. I just ruck marched. Anybody out there who's in the military, you know what ruck marching is. But basically, what ruck marching is, from a recreational standpoint, you put weight in a backpack, you wear it, and you just walk. You get your miles in, right? And I would do that for recreation, just to get out there and get some exercise. And eventually, I got a running blade, and I started running, and got highly involved in CrossFit at CrossFit Scranton, right downtown. And it just started snowballing. I started challenging myself more and more. I'm going to do this for Joe. I'm going to do this for Joe. I would just say that to myself. And it led to, it wasn't even about Joe anymore. It's just a passion for physical fitness. Okay. So, like, it just kind of opened my eyes a lot. Like, you know, and eventually somebody asked me to run a Spartan race. And at the time, I did Tough Mudders and I done Warrior Dashes. So I think I got a little cocky. Look, I'll do a Spartan race. Yeah, I've done those before. Like, well, I guess this typical Spartan race, it was 8 miles, and I've done like longer distance before, but it was the terrain of this 8 mile race. It
Mhm.
was up
Where
and
was
down a
it?
Black Diamond Mountain in
Oh.
Wintergreen, Virginia. And I remember the night before, I'm going with my friend Amanda Sullivan up, to where we would start this race. And I'm just like, is what we're doing tomorrow? Like, oh no, like, what did I get myself? I did not train for it. Like, oh, this is gonna suck. Well, the morning of the race, in one of the lodges is where you would pick up your bib. There's these men and women in multicam uniforms, and like one of the people in uniform came up to me with his hand out and said, "Hey, are you Earl Granville?" And I look at this guy, and his name is Noah Galloway. And I don't know if you're familiar with the name Noah Galloway. Noah, he was in 101st Airborne. His vehicle hit a roadside bomb, and he lost his left arm and his left leg in Iraq from this IED blast. And Noah was also on, afterwards, he was on Dancing with the Stars, and he was even on the cover of Men's Health magazine as he's missing an arm and missing a leg.
So cool.
I know who this guy is, right? So as I fangirl a little bit, like, holy crap, Noah! Like, he's like, I've been following this guy for some time now, right? And I don't mean to be all make it weird. It's like, dude, you're a big inspiration of mine. Like, I look up to you. Like, and it's not even just like, not just his accomplishes, but the way he carries himself. He's not like bro vet in your face all the time. Like, yeah, I'm awesome. Just a humble dude. And that's what I like in people. Like, you don't let it get to your head. And that's what I love about this guy. So I said, you're here to do the race. And like, yeah, I'm here with Operation Enduring Warrior. And like, so OEW, their mission is to honor, empower, and motivate wounded and disabled veterans. And now we brought in law enforcement as well to continue to stay active after their injuries, not let their injuries define who they are. And the unwritten rule, I feel like what we do, being a part of something bigger than yourselves, just like when you wore that uniform. So he said, you want to run along with us? I'm like, dude, I would be honored. Like, absolutely, man. So we get to the start of this Spartan race. Um, right before we take off, I met the rest of the team, all in their uniforms and the little backpacks they have. And we go to a secluded area, and they take out of their bags a gas mask, don their gas mask. And I was like, do I have to do that? Like, holy gee. Like, and this is what they do to be a MAT team member, like to help with their mission. It takes away the identity of themselves. So we all focus on the individual, their honoree or adaptive athlete they're assisting. And the gas mask is also a little reminder of adversity that our honorees are going through. So I ran the race alongside these guys. Really, the race really humbled me. Like, as I went in a little cocky, like, it kind of almost destroyed me. Was at the time, it was the most physical thing I've done after I lost my leg, like 2013 time frame. Afterwards, Noah says, what do you think about joining us?" And I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for something like this. But then again, I thought, if Noah Galloway is asking me to join this team, I shouldn't shy this away. You know that Eminem song? What's the one from 8 Mile? Right in the beginning of the song, you get one shot, one opportunity, or you can take
Yep.
it or you can let slip. That's what I thought of. I'm like, I can't say no to this. Like,
This
but
is it.
what's that?
This is it.
Yeah, and I didn't know what the future was holding ahead after I went through because we have to go through an indoctrination to become a mass athlete. And I have to say, every mass athlete is current or prior military. That's one of the criteria to become a mass athlete. So, I was sent to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, with 9 other people, and they just put us through hell for a weekend. Very military style, like that boot camp, in your face, like just giving you shit. And I got to tell you, there was 10 people started, 5 of us finished, and I was one of them. And Bridget, for the first time in a long time, I felt like I've earned a spot on a team. And yeah, I played hockey, but it was like, hey, you want to play hockey? There you go. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the way I've accomplished it this way, I feel like it was a kick in the ass I needed. Because then my mindset went right back to that Iraq deployment.
Right.
This isn't about me. It's about us. I can continue to serve without wearing a uniform. And I am wearing a uniform, ironically, but like, it's not combat boots and a rifle overseas. It's gas mask and, multi-cam uniform. Being a mentor for our honorees. And I, just like the military, I have to make sure I'm in top physical shape, because I don't want, the last thing I want to be is out of shape for our honoree who's just smoking me on the course, right? We want to, we want to empower, not hold their hands through a course. And eventually what it all turns down to is there may be a day they don't need us anymore. And that's the way it should be. You know what I mean? Like that's success right there. Like, thank you guys so much. I can handle this or whatever it may be. And it's for the first time in a long time, like I said, of being a part of something, but I also have a purpose. And what this has done is you're building relationships with your honorees and just my team in general. And I realized this is something so much more healthier in my life that I needed. When I always focus on 3 Ps now that I'm a public speaker. I truly believe, Bridget, we need 3 Ps in our life. 3 very important. You must have a purpose. You must have a passion. You have to be part of something bigger than yourself. And my examples, like in the military, it was so easy. Like it was, I think when you wear that uniform, all 3 of those are filled in. My purpose, I'm a soldier. My passion, I was an infantryman. Part of something bigger than myself, that's self-explanatory. Now my purpose is I'm a public speaker. My passion is physical fitness. And I'm part of something bigger than myself. That's what I do with these organizations, right? So as we move forward, the recipe to find these 3 Ps, a good attitude, because I got to tell you, that horrible attitude, I just started down, really spiraled down. Comfort zone, you have to step out of it. Because if you stay stagnant, you'll never find what you're looking for. And number 3, community. That could be very broad, but I truly believe that's building those relationships. That's the organizations you're a part of. Or, we look at the situation with COVID right now. I look at it, the gyms I'm a part of. We're more than just physical fitness. We're about community. So the community helps you carry that weight of adversity together. Sometimes it might not be a psychiatrist or a counselor. It could be, your neighbors, but you have to show that vulnerability to understand you don't have to carry the weight by yourself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And that's why this is called the gathering movement, because it's not about just me or you. It's literally about everyone who hears this story today and says, fuck, like I am part of something bigger than myself. And I want a community. I want a family. Like we can't do this journey alone. And I'm just so grateful of every single word you just said, because I'm just like, yes.
It's the power, never underestimate the power of community. Now, I don't talk politics, all right? But we're looking at the idea of what's happening in this country right now where businesses are falling short. This is where it comes to a good community to step up, right? I know my gym, Brown's Gym in Clark Summit, they, Pennsylvania had a 2-week mandate. No gyms are allowed to be open. And the owner, who's been in business for 28 years, him and his wife, they're like, we can't survive through this. So what they did was they opened early. And they said, look, we're not here to tyrant the government or anything like that. We're not here to do this. But us staying closed, my options are this. He said, if we stay closed, there's no way we're going to recover. If we open up, we might be able to recover. And as soon as they opened back up and they announced that, I jumped right down there and I just started making videos of me doing deadlifts. Come to Brown's Gym. If you don't work out, that's fine. Come buy a t-shirt. Let's support these guys. Stay open. That's what a strong community is supposed to do. Carry the weight of adversity together. And I got to tell you how much protein I bought off of those guys just to do my part. It's like, hey man, I'll throw it in my car. I travel a lot on the road. You know what I mean? But that's the power of what a community could do.
Yeah.
Never carry the weight of adversity by yourself. Inside of us, we all have those bad days. They're going to hold us down. Most of us, we're resilient. We can figure it out. I think all of us are deep down inside. But sometimes the weight could get so heavy and we don't take care of it, that weight's going to hold us down and we're going to be miserable. And that's where, if you don't get it worked on, if you don't get it fixed, if you don't try to step out of that comfort zone to find the path you're looking for happiness, it's going to hold you down. And no one wants to live a life like that. And I have an example right here to show you what I mean by that. So, Bridget, this is Cindy the Cinder Block. Cindy Cinder, wah wah. What Cindy represents is that heavy mental adversity that we all face as human beings. Guilt, stress, depression, anxiety. The situation right now with COVID, loss of a loved one. You get the idea. All those bad days, the weight of adversity that holds us down, doesn't want us to get out of bed, whatever it may be. The idea of Cindy is when I run races with the other organization I'm part of, the Oscar Mike Foundation. I'm trying to point at my hat here. The camera's backwards. The Oscar Mike Foundation, what we do is I help run Team Oscar Mike, which one of our components in Oscar Mike is we help veterans through Spartan races, kind of like a little similar to OEW. When I bring Cindy out on the race with me, I'll start off with her. She gets pretty heavy after a while. So luckily, I have a team itself to help me carry the weight together. I look at my buddy Joey Decker and I'm like, hey, dude, want to help me carry this? And he'll carry Cindy for a little while. And somebody else will. Maybe they'll carry it together. Someone carries a brick, the other carries a chain. The idea is nobody's carrying it alone. That's the same up in here. That vulnerability can save your life, ladies and gentlemen. And the hardest thing sometimes, I feel like, especially in like military culture, is being vulnerable. We understand the power of what a vulnerability can do to the right people at the right time. It could really turn your life around. Because as human beings, we're not allowed to. We're not meant to carry this on our own. We're supposed to build relationships. We're supposed to have those connections and who we could trust. And the reality of it, sometimes it might not even be your family. But you have to take those leaps. And also, it's also us, for the ones who are in good spirits, to look out for one another. You hear me hitting that stake all through this conversation, especially during these hard times with COVID. More important now than ever, we need each other.
I'm just so beyond deeply inspired. And what I find just so beautiful is these experiences I think of everything polarity. We have death and we have life. We have contraction, we have expansion. We have down and we have up. And when we can take the experience of death, of physical death, of loss of a limb, of death of a career, a relationship, and actually turn that into something that is life, like that is the greatest gift. And you are here like literally giving that gift to everyone who hears you speak, and your presence, like you just embody it. And I'm just so grateful that you're here doing this work in the world. Like I could almost cry because it's like, yes, 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 yes.
Thank you so much, Bridget.
Thank you. Yeah, it's incredible. And I would love to have you just share how people can support your mission even more. Do you have links? Do you have donation pages where people can contact you? Please share them.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if anybody's interested in, this is what I do for a living. Um, and I don't do it for the money, man. I just enjoy doing this. Like, especially in northeastern Pennsylvania, man. Like, if it's just a day on the road, man, I mean, that makes life so much easier. But you want to check out our organizations: Operation Enduring Warrior, the Oscar Mike Foundation, Warrior Strong. Tom Tice's organization that you know. Um, we're more than just finding that physical fitness and helping these men and women reach their physical goals. It's about, one thing in the military, man. When we join, most of us join as soon as we become adults. Like graduate high school, boom, off the basic training or boot camp, whatever. So your whole adult life is combat boots and a rifle. No matter what your branch is, no matter what your job is, you're a part of a culture that's very unique. And it's all you know as an adult. So when we take that uniform off, I feel like a lot of us struggle with this. What I find in these organizations, it fills in those gaps of what we miss so deeply when we once served in the military. So, I mean, check us out, man. Like I said, Operation Enduring Warrior, Warrior Strong, the Oscar Mike Foundation, Achilles Freedom Team. I wear a lot of hats with these guys, and I can't tell you enough. It's when we find the power of a great community and being a part of something bigger than ourselves with a mission, there's no stopping us.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm just so grateful that we can have these types of conversations that allow us to reflect on the most challenging experiences of our entire life and then show people that we can do this in a community. We can handle this. We can persevere. There is hope in everything that we do.
So, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Earl, for being here.
I want to leave you with this right here. Two things. When I poured that alcohol down the drain, don't get me wrong, I drink now, but I barely, I have a beer dinner or whatever. But something to think about. Sometimes think about attitude. We can't control what happens to us sometimes, but we can always control how we're going to react to it. We always have the power to do that. And one more thing. My buddy Norby Lara. Norby served in Iraq. He was a master sergeant as an MP. He lost his arm from an RPG blast, I think back in 2006. His vehicle caught on fire. He lost an arm and he lost a lung. Norby put a quote up on Facebook years ago, and I still have the original what I wrote it on right here. And I think I just keep it right next to my computer because I think it's important. I've learned that the best way to overcome my own obstacles is to help people with theirs. So I want to give Norby credit for that. So always remember that, guys.
Thank you, Norby. We love that. We love that. We love that. Yeah, being of service, I think, is really truly like a human, just innate want for all of us. And, there's so many different ways that can look. So just thank you for that reminder today. Thank you for sharing everything that you did. And I'm just so grateful that we were able to connect in this way. So thank you, Earl, for being here.
Bridget, by all means. I mean, thank you so much. If you like to maybe in the future have Johnny and I on together, why not, man?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Awesome. Bridget, thank you again and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.